268.
During the break, I tried to quickly clean up my LinkedIn profile. I want to make Spencer Moss proud. But now thrilled to be joined in studio with Victoria Quero, the business development manager at Connect Work, somebody who has taught me a thing or two about an industry that I knew absolutely nothing about. And I'm going to venture to say that many of our listeners would feel the same about the railroad industry. I didn't know that there are jobs in the railroad industry. But Victoria, are there jobs that are available?
Absolutely. The freight railroad industry is a very large industry. It's over 180,000 jobs in the U.S., 13,000 of those jobs here in Illinois. And we're facing an interesting predicament in the industry, much like manufacturing. We have a very aged workforce. About 50% of our employees are going to be retiring in the next 5 to 10 years. So there's a lot of job openings, a lot of opportunity. Combine the fact that rail is booming. We have a lot of development in the petrochemical and the oil and gas sectors that are requiring improvements to our infrastructure. So we're definitely facing an increase in need and yet not enough workers to fill the demand. And
are these jobs all sort of the what you would call, I guess, blue-collar type jobs? What sort of jobs are there? The typical financial roles as well?
That's what I love about it. It kind of runs the gamut. Chicago is known as a rail hub, so a lot of the railroad-connected companies do have their headquarters here. So anything from sales and marketing to legal to operations, those jobs are definitely available. However, as you kind of alluded, the majority of the jobs are on the lines, as I like to call them. So literally laying down the track, repairing the infrastructure, maintaining the assets. These expensive rail cars that can last for 50 years need to be repaired and taken care of over their lifetime. So that's where a large number of those jobs are available throughout the nation.
And Chicago is a pretty big hub and central point for the world of railroad, aren't we?
We absolutely are. There's a large number of rail car owners that are based here. Their business model is literally to buy as many rail cars as they can and lease them out to the large companies that are moving their products. Those large companies are based in Illinois. And then also there's, again, to support that network, there's a number of rail car service providers and a number of railroads in the state of Illinois that these cars have to go through in order to move from one end of the country to the other.
It's absolutely fascinating. And you would know, Victoria, because you've been in many of the roles. Right now you're focused on marketing and business development, probably something that most people wouldn't immediately connect with the railroad industry. But there's a need for marketing in that industry as well. But you've actually been on the front lines. You've actually been in pretty much every role that there possibly is.
I've dabbled, absolutely. I started in the legal department for a rail car owner, debating and negotiating contracts. I've worked with sales, traveling and visiting customers who are using our rail cars. Now I do a lot of work with the railroads and the rail car maintenance providers. So we're bringing them business, we're helping them find workers, and we're keeping America rolling.
That's for sure. I like that term, keeping America rolling. And I'll be curious after the break to talk with Bruce Leon. We talk a lot about jobs. Bruce is with Tandem HR. So, Victoria, you must have a story. You must have a story how you ended up doing what you're doing. Because if I would meet, we're sitting here in the studio, you don't look like somebody who just one day ended up in a rail car.
Absolutely not. I fell into it. A lot of people in the industry, their grandfather did it or their father did it. So a lot of it is family passed down from one generation to the next.
You used to do legal work.
Exactly. And I figured out I did not want to be a lawyer, but I love the rail industry. It's a quirky, old-fashioned industry, really good people. There's a ton of business for everyone. So it's not necessarily very competitive or cutthroat. Some days I'm out at the shops checking how the cars are rolling through and if they're being cleaned properly. Other days I'm having lunch in New York City with a customer and talking to them about how many rail cars they need for 2015. So it's a nice opportunity to be varied in my day-to-day work.
It's fascinating. I used to go down to Kansas City and St. Louis sometimes, and I would take Amtrak, and I had fun. I mean, it's an experience. Obviously, you're talking about a lot of the jobs, and that's not necessarily on Amtrak, but in some of the other rail lines. But rail lines are a great mode of transportation for many goods and services that we take for granted, and they're getting to us somehow, right?
Absolutely. We call rail a leading indicator. It's one of the things I love the most about the industry. I can open the newspaper and almost anything that happens that day in the local or the international community or economy does affect what we do. When, for example, the gas prices that have dramatically decreased, we started noticing a month ago that a lot of crude players were not using their cars. They were putting them into storage. They just weren't making the margins on the barrels that they need to make. So we could foresee that market was going to improve for the consumer probably within a month or 2 months.
So we're a business show. We're always trying to find ways that our entrepreneurs, our influence makers, that our listeners can get into new industries, get into new paths. And that's why I was fascinated when I met you first. What advice do you have for our listeners that might be in finance, that might be in marketing, that might be in many of the other areas that want to get into the railroad industry? Because you're saying that there's an opportunity. It's an aging workforce. How can people get involved?
Absolutely. Well, to connect back to your first speaker, LinkedIn is a great networking tool for our industry. We are on it very often.
I wouldn't think that on my own.
Well, it makes sense. You said LinkedIn for grown-ups, right? We're a grown-up industry. We're definitely older, and so there's a lot of networking going on in LinkedIn. Chicago itself, or any major city, really is a hub for conferences. So I would highly recommend attending rail shippers conferences or transportation and logistics conferences, and just networking and getting, putting yourself out there and getting to know people in the industry. And any major Fortune 500 company probably ships by rail, whatever their commodity is. So logistics in particular is a good field to look into to see what their logistics department is like, and are they using truck, are they using rail? And that would be a good opportunity as well. Are
there any specific associations or groups that you would recommend?
The Rail Shippers Association has regional locations. The Midwest Association of Railcar Shippers is meeting actually in January up in Lake Geneva. That would probably be the one I would recommend the most, maybe for new individuals coming to the industry.
That's great. Great advice from Victoria Quero of Connect Work, who is telling us a little bit about the railroad industry. And again, for our listeners that are just tuning in, are you saying there are jobs in the railroad industry?
Absolutely. We're looking for engineers, welders, train operators. What we do at Connect Work is we help our railcar maintenance facilities keep a staff. So anyone that's interested in getting an AWS certificate, American Welding Society certificate, we can absolutely place you. There's a lot going on in the industry that's going to require almost 30 to 40% more of a workforce that we have now. So
you mentioned a statistic the other week that there's a certain number of rail cars that need to be replaced or rebuilt. I found that number to be fascinating. Can you share it with our listeners?
Yes. There's approximately, due to some changes coming in the industry with the result of transporting more crude on the railroads, there's approximately 100,000 rail cars that are estimated as going to need some sort of maintenance, or they may be scrapped completely. So about 80,000 of those will have to go through a shop. Shops, we do not have enough shops right now in the United States. We're working on building more of those. We need second and third shifts of workers. So it's growing, it's booming, and we'll need more workers to help solve these problems.
That's a staggering number. Clearly, the railroad industry is alive and well and growing, and an aging workforce requires that there's going to need to be business vendors, employees brought in, and Victoria Quero is at the front line of that. Victoria is in business development with Connect Work. Victoria, how can people reach you to find out more and to get your advice on the railroad industry?
Absolutely. I can be reached, my phone number is 773-396-1114. You can also check out our website, www.connectwork.solutions, where we're helping newcomers into the industry make connections with other railroad providers or railroad users. And that would be the best place.
Victoria, the guru of railroad. Once again, that telephone number that people can reach you at?
773-396-1114.
Well, thanks for joining us and get down to business. We'll continue to follow the industry Clearly, as you said, the industry that's sort of driving and riding America, a key indicator as we watch the economy. We'll be able to continue the conversation with Victoria. After the break, we're going to be talking a little bit more about jobs, a little bit more about the economy with our friend Bruce Leon of Tandem HR, who's going to be talking to us about what's going on, how to wrap up 2014, get ready for 2015. And, of course, at the end of the show, I'm going to be sharing some tips on how you can plan an effective holiday party for your office. So you won't want to miss that. You're listening to Get Down to Business, the show that's all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. You can call in with your questions, 312-642-5600, 312-642-5600. After the break, we're going to be talking with Bruce Leon of Tandem HR.
This year,